He goes to LSU, and now they're going to stink for the next 2 years until the boosters get together and buy out his contract, which they're probably not going to be able to afford.
And Kelly, the SEC almost went undefeated this week. Hell, Vanderbilt is undefeated. Y'all gonna let Vanderbilt look better than you? I'd like to go back to like Kelly's first recruiting TikTok video. You know, the wait, hold up, when he went okay, everything's getting in the way. All right, never mind. I can't move this guy. I'm trying to move him. There we go. Hold up. This man said right foot creep. Ooh, watch him while I weep or whatever the song is called. Yeah, they weeping all right. They weeping. This is the guy you guys hired as a coach. This man. What was it that he said? Or what was it the reporter shot back with? Well, you know, maybe if you want, I'd have shown up earlier.
Oh, yeah. So the whole debacle with that, and that lady reporter just absolutely roasted him. But basically, he was like, I can't believe that the media is not on time. And basically, she was just like, well, maybe if you won a game, we might be might be here on time. Yeah.
Like, so you gonna let this man? Y'all thought this man was the answer too. Like,
but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, and we've all had this discussion. I've had this discussion with Gene. I've had this discussion with Sora. I've had this discussion with a bunch of other people. When you play at Notre Dame, you're going to get handed everything in the world because you play at Notre Dame. You're not part of a conference. Your schedule's not very hard every year. USC is what they've been the last couple of years. So you automatically you got a semi-cupcake team every year that you're playing. And you get handed how many times? I know we've said this, that not last year, but the year before when Texas A&M was a 3-loss team, but Notre Dame got in and they didn't, and they barely lost against Alabama that year. It was like, okay, so really Notre Dame's going to get in there and get smacked around. I think they played Clemson or whatever, and Clemson beat the dog crap out of them. So it was like, we would have rather seen Texas A&M give them a chance because they play in the SEC. It probably would have been a tougher matchup for Clemson, but that's neither here nor there. They get everything handed to them because they're not part of a conference. How's all your sports part of the ACC but you as a football team? It doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't.
I mean, it drives me freaking crazy every single year watching them just get handed. I mean, this year, the number 5 ranking when they were terrible. Well, here you go, number 5 ranking. You're Notre Dame, so you automatically get this. It's like, why does this happen every single year? But I know, Gene, we've talked about that ad nauseum, man. Like, we're out of every school, you can have your rival, but all of us collectively could say we probably hate Notre Dame the worst.
100%. I got a question for you, just a fun question. Jaden Daniels for LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many offensive plays do you think LSU ran in that game? Total.
Total? 55.
Yeah, total plays.
60.
You're close. Very close.
Okay.
65 total plays.
Okay.
How many plays do you think Jaden Daniels either threw the ball or ran the ball?
50.
65. 51. That's horrible game planning by Brian Kelly. Like, you first of all, your open and weak game, you have your quarterback either running or passing the ball 51 times in a 14 plays other than him, either him throwing the ball or him running the ball. And I think that is that's a terrible job game planning by Brian Kelly. And I'll shit on Brian Kelly anytime I get a chance to. I can't stand
pleasure.
I mean, his ego, it was an ego thing why he wanted to leave. Like, LSU was obviously a hot commodity for a better coach, right? I would have even liked to see, what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Gary Patterson from TCU, the way he turned around that program, I would have loved to see him go to LSU, and I was clamoring for that. I was like, Gary Patterson should be first dibs for the LSU job just off his resume alone, because TCU was butt like before he got there, and he turned that program completely around. But then you got Brian Kelly that's like, oh, let me go ahead and try my shot because he already had his ego filled Brian Kelly. He's not a good person. He goes to LSU, and now they're going to stink for the next 2 years until the boosters get together and buy out his contract, which they're probably not going to be able to afford because they paid him all that money.
He's just awful. And like, hold on, let me do my Brian Kelly imitation. Hey, so Notre Dame is about to be in the playoffs, and we're going to wait a minute. Let me talk to my players this morning. So I'm no longer going to be the coach of Notre Dame. So now I'm from LSU, and we can't wait to get them wins. Like, what just happened? Why did you?
We're
just
getting gumbo.
Yeah.
I heard you yesterday talking to your players, and you sound totally different today. Like, he's such a clown, man. 65 offensive plays and 51 are your quarterback, and you wonder why you lost the game. LSU just is a disaster, man.
How much of so this leads me into my last question about this game, because there was a bunch of storylines, not only the collapse that they had when they could have easily won this game. Jaden Daniels didn't play. Jaden Daniels played good. He was accurate with the ball, but why did he run so many times is the other question. But the real question here is, do you think the Kayshon Boutte thing, where he was taking all the LSU stuff out of his social media this week, do you think that has anything to do with the loss, or Brian Kelly, or everything is a culmination?
I think it has a lot to do with Brian Kelly. I think the first thing he did in the press conference was make excuses and blame other people. Like, I think the worst thing that Brian Kelly did in that entire press conference was when he got up there and he goes, well, you see these guys in camp, and you get a good look at them, and then, you think they're special, and then you get to the game, and then you realize we got a lot of work to do. Well, that's your job to talent evaluate. That's your job. And for him to even place any blame on his players after that game was hilarious. To take accountability. You want to get buy-in from your players, you want to get buy-in from your team, have accountability.
Yeah.
Listen, I did not put us in the best position to win the game. I had our starting quarterback run the ball 16 times and throw the ball 35. That's a mistake.
Yeah. It was terrible. I don't know how else to slice it. And, shout out to Jaden Daniels though. I give him all the credit in the world, because we did beat him up pretty bad on our film study, but maybe it was just Herman Edwards' offense that he was running was very dink and dunk. Rashard White was awesome though in that offense, but Jaden Daniels did not look good, and I didn't think he was going to look as good as he did with LSU. And if it was Brian Kelly, I can totally see it after I took a step back, because at first my initial reaction is I saw Kayshon Boutte took all of his social media stuff out and as considering the transfer portal. I was like, come on, dog. Like, really? You just going to give up on your team like that? But then, yeah, it's a baby move. But then also you made a good point. Like, who would want to play for a coach like that that's constantly throwing his players under the bus? I wouldn't either. So I don't know if I can really blame the kid, but